You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast, www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
We're going to take comfort where we can find it. This weekend in the United Kingdom, a pro-hardline Brexit Tory member of parliament was turfed out, lost an election to a Liberal Dem who is pro-Europe. That was a little good sign, a little twinkling of hope there in the United Kingdom. And then in Austria, where a hard-right, neo-Nazi-ish leader of a party founded by former members of Hitler's SS in Austria, hard right-wing, anti-European, anti-immigrant, pro-reassembling somehow the Austro-Hungarian Empire, lost an election to a former member of the Green Party. The Green Party in Europe is actually a party that elects people up and down the ballot, doesn't just run people for president, but can run someone for president once in a while and legitimately run someone for president and win an election because they're an actual political party, not a stunt, which is what they are here. Anyway, file under bitter irony, the Nazi lost the election in Austria by the same percentage that Donald Trump lost the popular vote here in the United States. So the Nazi in Austria is not going to be the president of Austria, or the neo-Nazi, or the leader of the party founded by Nazis, is not going to be the president of Austria because Austria does not have an anti-democratic electoral college. Austria has a functioning parliamentary democracy. So good for Austria, another silver lining there. In the Department of Taking Comfort where you can find it, you might want to go check out trumpgrets.tumblr.com. That's trumpgrets.tumblr.com, where someone, and God bless the person behind this Tumblr, is pulling together tweets and blog posts from people who voted for Trump and are already, still 40 plus odd days before Trump is sworn in as president, already regretting their vote because Trump is not, as he promised to do, draining the swamp. He is splashing around in it. He is the corrupt motherfucking clown we all knew him to be, all of us on the left, the majority of Americans who voted against him. We all knew him to be all along, but suddenly the scales are falling from the eyes of some of Trump's supporters. Like Barbara Johnson, who tweets, "I can't believe Ryan is going to phase out Medicare. Next up, Social Security? This is not what I wanted from Trump administration." Barbara voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump on the campaign trail pledged over and over and over again to protect Medicare, protect Social Security. Donald Trump, within minutes of winning the election, had crawled into bed with Paul Ryan and backed Paul Ryan's plan to phase out Medicare, to hand vouchers to senior citizens and wish them luck on the open insurance market, to go out there and buy their own insurance plans, and to privatize Social Security. That is back on the table. George W. Bush tried to sell that to the American people in 2004 and fell flat on his fucking face. He stepped on that rake hard and didn't get anywhere. But it is back, and Donald Trump is betraying his base who depends on these programs, Social Security and Medicare. We all depend on these programs. All Americans depend on these programs. But Donald Trump's base, in particular, are dependent on this kind of federal largesse. And Donald Trump is betraying them, or has betrayed them already. So if we're going to take our silver linings, our glimmers of hope, wherever we can find them, you might want to go to trumpgrets.tumblr.com, because there are lots of little glimmers of hope there. There are lots of people there, Trump voters, Trump supporters, who are already regretting their vote. These are the people we should be reaching out to on Twitter, reaching out to at home this Christmas. If you've got relatives who voted for Trump and you can hack it this Christmas, so you can go home and you can face them and argue with them, please do. If you can't face them this Christmas, if you don't want to go home, if you are home already, don't go. You don't have to. But if you can, you might want to go home and say to Great Aunt Martha, "Too bad about your Medicare. Too bad about your Social Security checks, Dad, that you were counting on beginning to come in the next few years because you voted for this asshole who's already betrayed you." We need Trumpgrets to spread through Make America Great Again hat-wearing rural and exurban and suburban areas, so that in 2018, these people vote for Democrats for the Senate to punish Trump, and in 2020, they turf these bastards and clowns and racists and anti-Semites and homophobes and transphobes out of office. Okay, coming up today on the podcast, we have tons of your questions, and Erika Moen of Oh Joy Sex Toy is here to recommend a sex toy for us. All that coming up on today's show. Today's episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Wink, the wine club that sends wine directly to your door. Try Wink, get $20 off and complimentary shipping when you go to trywink.com/savage. That's trywinc.com/savage. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by going to casper.com/savagelove and entering the promo code SAVAGELOVE.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or online store for you and your ideas. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. Try Squarespace at squarespace.com and enter offer code SAVAGE at checkout to get 10% off. That's squarespace.com, offer code SAVAGE.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 40-plus-year-old black kinky female. My dom is 20 years older than me, and my parents, my mother specifically, won't meet him or doesn't like him strictly because he's 20 years older. Now, into the bargain, she has seen our Kinbaku rope bondage pictures from my phone, and we broke up once, and because we're polyamorous, and that's a whole other thing. My mother will not let him come to her house. Everyone else has met him. When I was in the hospital, my boyfriend, my dom, was there every day, and my parents and my nephew met him then, again, in that setting. But my mother won't let him come because of those damn pictures for Thanksgiving or Christmas. He's got a significant other, and he's going to her house, but I feel like he should be able to come to my parents' house. I feel like you might say that it's a similar situation to when a gay couple aren't accepted by one of the family members. Take away your presents. Tell your parents that, if they accept you, they've got to accept your partner. And I feel like I can say that, or I could say that, sort of. But is that the right thing? It's not a gay or lesbian thing. He's 20 years older, and she's seen me naked.
Sure, I speak on behalf of everyone out there listening when I say, how the fuck did your mother see these goddamn pictures? Was she going through your phone? Do you guys have a Tumblr? Were you putting this out there? How did mom find these pictures of you in bondage? The first conversation you need to have with your mom is about your sex life, that you are kinky, that you are sorry that she knows that. There are things you should acknowledge. There are things that a mother has a right not to know. And the granular details of her daughter or any other kid's sex life, pretty high up there on that list. But your mom knows these things by some trick of fate that you don't unpack for us. But your mom knows these things, and you need to go to your mom and say, unknowing these things is possible for you. You just have to suspend your disbelief. You have to will yourself not to know these things. And I'm sorry that you know them, but just put it aside. And your other children, your other nieces and nephews and other relatives, they have sex lives too. And if you saw photographs of the particular and unique things that turn them on, it might squeak you out too. But you haven't seen those photographs. So you don't dwell on it. You don't wonder about it. You don't go into their phones and poke around looking for things that might offend you. And you need to sort of retroactively grant me the same zone of privacy and the same zone of willful suspension of disbelief. And get over the fucking pictures of me tied up, which is something that we do with each other for fun because it is pleasurable for me. And I'm not being abused, and he's not abusing me. These are things that I like and enjoy. Waka, waka, waka. As for the age thing, clock the age difference on the incoming fucking president-elect of the United States and the first lady erect of the United States, or whatever the fuck we're supposed to call her. Big age difference. 20-year age differences are nothing. I think that is a straw that your mother is grasping at, because she can talk about the age difference and is more comfortable citing it than she is talking about what really rankles her, which is the dom sub play, which is the bondage, which is the submissiveness. I bet that's what really gets under her skin. And the way to solve that is to lay out some breadcrumbs that create a path for your mother to get back to that point before she knew, which is by pointing out that she knows these things or can infer them about others. I remember a million years ago when I came out to my mother and she didn't want my boyfriends around, she was just really uncomfortable with the idea that I was having sex with these guys, or this guy, and she couldn't interact with them. And I pointed out that my sister was probably having sex with her boyfriend, but she'd have a problem with that. She'd look at my boyfriend and she would just see the blowjobs. She would see his dick going into my mouth, but she would look at my sister's boyfriend and not see the blowjob, not see his dick going into her mouth. And that's because, as my mother said, our relationship was only sex. Could only ever be sex, because those blowjobs my sister gave would lead ultimately perhaps one day to marriage and family and children. The blowjobs I gave led only to more blowjobs. And so she could only see the blowjobs when she looked at my boyfriend. And I really went round and round with her about that and got it into her head that she was the one with the problem, that the blowjobs weren't the problem. The sex wasn't the problem. She was the one obsessing about it. And if she could take her focus off the sex for a moment and look at the relationship, that maybe she could find her way clear to interacting with my boyfriend without obsessing about blowjobs. And she was the one with the obsession, not us. You can do that for your mother. Ultimately, though, your presence is your only leverage over your parents when you're an adult. And that goes not just for gay, lesbian, bi, and trans folks, also goes for poly folks. It goes for kinky folks. It goes for 100% straight vanilla folks. Your leverage is your presence. And if your parents can't welcome you and welcome your partner or ers and treat you with respect, tell your parents you're not coming for Christmas. Tell your parents you want to be with your partners at Christmas, so you are going where you feel welcome and where he feels welcome. You would love to come home for Christmas on the condition that your welcome includes him being made to feel welcome. And until your mom can come through with that kind of welcome, you'll see her on Arbor Day.
Hey, Dan. I am a white cis hetero man, absolute picture of privilege. I'm also a feminist, among other things, and I do my best to use that privilege to help those who are marginalized. I would never, ever knowingly hurt someone, especially my wife. So my wife is even more aggressively leftist than I am, but sexually she likes to be dominated. This took a long time for her to feel comfortable talking with me about, but now we've been experimenting with it, which is great. It's strange for me because I've always thought of myself as submissive, though, and she wants me to be dominant. But that experimentation now with arguably pretty low-key teacher-student fantasy has been so great that I want to go further with it. And while I condemn any sort of sexual violence in the real world, I've become very interested in rape play. All fantasy, all consensual, all just play, nobody actually getting hurt, but rape play. So I finally got the nerve to bring this up to her this past weekend, and she's trying to be as GGG as possible, but this is a lot for both of us, I'm sure, especially her. It's completely against who we are in the real world, and it's especially fraught, of course, due to the current American political climate. So what I need help on is what to do next. I broached the topic. She didn't slap me. She didn't run screaming. And we agree that absolutely everything needs to be carefully planned out and soberly agreed on before engaging in anything. But then when she asks me what exactly that scene looks like, I have no idea. I'm used to her taking control. I'm used to her calling the shots. And I don't know how to even begin putting that picture together. So how does one baby step up to something as extreme as rape play?
I think you got ahead of yourself here. I think you went about this in the wrong order. You needed to have some idea what this would look like, what this rape play that you fantasized about. And I assume your fantasies aren't just some amorphous blob, but there's some specificity there. But you need to be able to articulate what it would look like to your wife before you floated the idea of engaging in quote unquote rape play. Now, when people talk about rape play, there's a blogger I quoted in my column a year or two ago. I wish I could look it up, but I can't right now because Wi-Fi's down. But I quoted her a couple years ago, and she was saying maybe we should stop calling it rape play and call it ravishment play, because the idea in a consensual sort of rape play scenario, of course, is the person who is being quote unquote raped is not so much being raped as being taken by someone forcefully that she wishes or he wishes to be taken by. So it's more ravishment, and it is ultimately consensual, even if consent is in the play not explicit, or maybe in the play blurry. In the scenario being acted out by both or more players, that is, has non-consensual role-play-ish elements, but everything is plotted out. And that's the most important part in any sort of varsity level kink, particularly one that is playing with the appearance of non-consensuality, is for it to be plotted out. A beat sheet, they call it in Hollywood. You need a beat sheet. But you can't create a beat sheet, the two of you together, or you for the wife, until you know what the fuck it is you want to do. And you say that you don't know, but then you say, how do we tiptoe up? How do we baby step up to extreme rape play? So I think you must have some idea in your head. There's something you've been beating off about that you are too embarrassed to share with your wife, and too embarrassed to share with me, or too worried about your white, cis, hetero, lefty, feminist, privileged, sharing dude cred to articulate. And so you're not putting it on the table. You need to put that on the table so that your wife is aware of what you're baby stepping your way toward, and whether that's a place that she wants to go ultimately. And people can have sort of out there versions of fantasies and never really get all the way to them, or have any interest in getting all the way to them. But that is kind of the lodestar, right? That's the flame the moth flies around. But you have to be able to articulate it. You have to be able to tell her what that is. If you have a hard time saying it out loud, write it down. If you don't want it instantly forwardable everywhere, you can write it out longhand on a legal pad, although people can now take pictures and send them around everywhere, so it's not a fail-safe protection. But if you're worried about emails being misconstrued or taken out of context or being hacked where you're unpacking your fantasy life, write it down on pieces of paper that you can throw into a fire after the conversation is over. But the first baby step, you asked for baby steps, the first baby step isn't try this kind of non-consensual-ish rape play scenario, or try this one, where of course the non-consensual is play acting non-consensual, not actual non-consensual, or try this baby step, try that baby step. The first step is being able to articulate what it is that you're jacking off about, what it is that you're fantasizing about. And I know from jacking off, and I know from dudes, and you have very specific mental images and scripts and scenarios playing through your head while you are jacking off. It is not vague and amorphous. It is not a blob. There are specifics there, and you need to share those. If not with us, with her. With the understanding, with the asterisk, with the caveat that people may have more extreme versions of the fantasies that they're interested in exploring and never want to get to the most extreme version of it. There are people who want to be quote-unquote dungeon slaves, who want to live 24/7, 365 in some dungeon somewhere. But they're never going to really do that. And if you drill down with them, they're not actually really interested in doing that version of it. But it's fun to toy around with that fantasy. So you can have a more extreme version that you never want to get to, but you need to be able to articulate what it is. What it is that you want. I mean, take BDSM, which is rape play can be an element of it, or an aspect of it. It's about power, it's about control. But take BDSM. If somebody said to you, caller, oh, I'm kind of thinking about getting into BDSM, bondage, discipline, sadomasochism, and I'd like to tie you up and do stuff to you. But they couldn't tell you what that stuff was, or what they wanted to tie you up with, or for how long. And they were very vague about all of that. You would not feel comfortable allowing that person to tie you up to do quote unquote stuff to you for however long they wanted to. You would require them to really tell you what it is they were interested in specific, in great detail, and exactly what they wanted to do with you and to you while you were tied up before you agreed to let them tie you up that first time. Same goes for your wife with this kind of play. And your wife shouldn't agree to do any sort of quote unquote non-consensual play acting, cops and robbers for grown-ups with your pants off, ravishment, taken, rape play with you until you can articulate it. Until she knows what it is that you're interested in. Until she knows the direction in which you are headed with this, she shouldn't go there with you at all. And the onus, fantasy haver, is on you to articulate that for her so that she understands. We made it through the election and now Thanksgiving, but the winter holidays are still looming and you are going to need a lot of wine. Actually, you're going to need a lot more wine than you've been needing of late. And if you aren't sure about what kind to buy in bulk, Winc is the way to go. Winc, spelled W-I-N-C, formerly Club W, has a new name and an improved look, but it's still the same wine company introducing you to wines that you will love. Winc works directly with winemakers and growers from all over the world to create delicious wines and deliver them right to your door. Winc's 100% satisfaction guarantee means that if you don't like a bottle they sent you, they will replace it with a bottle you will love, no questions asked. Winc is a personalized wine membership that recommends wine specifically based on the results of their palate profile quiz. And it's easy to send wine as a gift through Winc. Check out their gift cards or personalized wine packages, and you will make the people on your list so happy. Winc is offering my listeners $20 off right now when you go to trywinc.com/savage. They will even cover the shipping. You'll get fine wine personalized to your palate, delivered right to your door. Try Winc and get $20 off. Complimentary shipping right now when you go to trywinc.com/savage. That's trywinc.com/savage.
Hi, Dan. I am a 21-year-old bisexual woman of color, and besides all that, I'm basically having an issue with my older sister that I never thought I would have. Her and I have not spoken for a few months now due to the fact that I've been avoiding her. She's deleted me off social media because I don't respond to things that she says. Basically, it all started when I told her about my sexual assault from an ex-boyfriend, and she basically told me every other reason why it would be my fault. The second reason is when I told her, when I came out to her as bisexual, she came out with all these reasons as to questioning why I would need to tell people, which really hurt me. And then when I came to her about me deciding to have a medical abortion, she didn't show me any type of empathy, which I would have shown to her in return. This doesn't make any sense to me because she's a liberal and she believes that all people should have rights, considering that both her sisters are of color. I miss her, but I know that maybe the distance is good for us. I just don't know how to approach her with this because she's very opinionated, and if I try to say something to her, she will indeed shut me down. The question is, should I approach her with this, or should I just leave it alone and see if I run into her on the holidays?
How many ways and how many times is your sister going to fail you before you cut her out of your life? You're sexually assaulted. You go to her. You tell her about it. She blames you. You come out as bi, and she shames you for coming out and suggests that being out isn't something that you need to do, and she's wrong. You tell her about the abortion service that you needed, and she shames you about that. Fuck your sister. Rely on your other sister. If you see her at holidays, be cordial and civil to her, but don't continue to engage with her. Every time you engage with her, she seems to seize that opportunity to punch you in the face and to attempt to damage you emotionally, to shame you or fault you or blame you or sex shame you or abortion shame you or slut shame you and blame you for your own sexual stuff. Fuck her. Have as little to do with her as possible. Maybe your sister will grow up. Maybe she'll come around. Maybe one day she will apologize to you. Maybe one day she will see that what she did was toxic and it hurt her relationship, not just with you, but with others, if she's treating others in the same way. But in the meantime, you don't have to keep going to her. You don't have to keep sharing with her. And why would you want to? Yeah, she's your sister. You should be able to tell her these things. In the best case scenarios, you would be able to tell her these things. She would support you. But in this particular case, she doesn't support you. She doesn't seem to be capable of supporting you. Stop going to her in search of the support that you don't get from her. Your expectations right now are you should be able to share with her. You should be able to expect from her support and her love and her compassion and understanding. You need to adjust your expectations where your sister is concerned, and then you won't be disappointed by what you get from her. Right now, you keep going to her expecting one thing and getting something very different. Don't go to her with any expectations of getting what you should from her, which is her love and support. Then you won't be disappointed when you don't get those things. Don't go to her for anything. Smile and nod when you see her around the holidays. Otherwise, lean on your other sister your other relatives, your parents, your friends, for the love and support you need. Your sister is not the only love and support Pez dispenser on the planet. You can find that elsewhere. This episode of Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Casper. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost. Casper is revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing those savings directly onto you, the consumer. The Casper mattress provides long-lasting comfort and support, and I know this because me and my husband sleep on one every night. You can buy it easily online and completely risk-free. Casper offers free delivery and painless returns within a 100-day period, so you don't have to lie down in a showroom. And Casper's mattresses uphold the highest environmental production standards, and they're made right here in the USA. Get a Casper mattress for $500 for a twin or $950 for a king-sized mattress, but you can save an additional $50 as one of our listeners by going to casper.com/savagelove and entering the promo code SAVAGELOVE. That's casper.com/savagelove and promo code SAVAGELOVE. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, Dan. My wife and I are in the midst of moving to a monogamous relationship, and a few things are coming up that I'm hoping to get a little advice on. We've been married for about 10 years, and I've always been interested in an open relationship, but never felt like it was really the right time. Now that we do, my wife has found a really exciting possibility for her that meets a lot of her needs, and she's having a texting relationship with a man. We both feel really good about her planning a date with him. Our sex life has never been better in the lead up, and I'm really happy with how well we're communicating and how things are progressing. We are also talking about opening up for me, and at the moment, what my wife feels comfortable with is trying to set up a threesome with a friend of hers. A threesome's at the top of my list, and we are having a few good ideas on how to get this set up. Eventually, I think I'd like permission to go out on my own as well. And I've made that clear to my wife, but for now, I think this is a good way for us to start out. I've been known to think with my dick at times in the past, and my wife has concerns with this, and that when faced some of the sexiest experiences of my life, that I won't always make the best decisions, which is why I think she wants to make a lot of decisions herself. This is a little frustrating to me because I think that this is based on some experiences that we had before we were married, and now I'm a much different person sexually, but I understand the concerns, and I'm okay starting out like this to make sure that she is comfortable. The biggest issue that I'm struggling with is I feel like I don't have any control over this situation, and I feel like it's making me a pathetically needy husband, which is not what I want to be. She's the one having these exciting texting relationships with another man. She's the one in charge of setting up a threesome, and I feel like my only interactions with this super exciting new part of our lives is through her. I think I end up coming across as needy and lacking in self-confidence, but I'm always wondering what's going on with this, and the only way for me to find out is to talk to her about it. It's making her less excited about the situation and to talking to me. It's making me struggle with how to be the man that I want to be. So what advice do you have for us, for me to be less clingy, to be able to feel some of the excitement of this new path, and be the confident person that I want to be, and not asking for all these things from her?
Find me the man, husband, boyfriend, single dude who hasn't been known to think with his dick from time to time. We are all prone toward thinking with our dicks once in a while. And ladies, women, you are prone to thinking with your pussies. Frequently, often. Of course, asterisk caveat, not all women have pussies, not all men have dicks, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, your wife needs to take some responsibility here for what she's asked of you. She's asked for you to invest her with complete control over how this is going to go down, at least at first, because of your actions in the past that made her feel insecure about your dick having any control, about your dick being in the driver's seat at all. So she's going to take complete control. Meanwhile, she is having this flirty, fun, texty, sexty, erotic tension building up relationship via her phone with this dude that she's about to get with. And you would like to have that same sort of erotic tension build. The erotic tension is building for you about this three-way that may be about to happen and the adventure that you're about to have, but there's no outlet for it. Erotic tension building for her, outlet, text with this dude. erotic tension building for you, no outlet other than her talking with you about it, other than her cranking you up. So she needs to take some responsibility for that. Of course, you're going to focus your erotic anxiety, erotic energy, and all of this tension on her because this is all coming to you through her. So she needs to ovary up. She needs to come through for you in the same way that her future sex toy guy, whoever that is coming through for her with the texts, cranking her up, making her feel alive and sexually energized. And that's redounding to the benefit of your marital sex life, which is common in cases like this. She needs to do a little cranking up of you too. This needs to be mutual, not just mutual in that you're both going to have these experiences that you've always wanted to have, but mutual in you're both having some outlet for the sexual tension that's building up in advance of these sexual experiences. She has an outlet outside the relationship. The burden's not on you. The burden is on her, though, for you to have that outlet inside the relationship because she wants this control. So with that control, with that power comes responsibility. Responsibility to be the outlet for you that she has outside the relationship.
This episode is brought to you by Squarespace. They make it simple and intuitive to create your website, blog, or online store. Squarespace is ideal for small business owners. From nationally recognized brands to your favorite local shops, Squarespace is trusted by hundreds of thousands of savvy shop owners around the world, including all the tools you need to track inventory, process orders, and send custom emails in one intuitive interface. Squarespace Commerce allows you to understand every aspect of your business, and they make adding a domain to your site simple. If you sign up for a year, you'll receive a custom domain for free. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter offer code SAVAGE to get 10% off your first purchase. That's squarespace.com, offer code SAVAGE.
We're going to take a quick break from the calls to speak with Erika Moen. She's a cartoonist at the comic book studio Helioscope in Portland, Oregon. And together with her husband, Matthew Nolan, Erika draws Oh Joy, Sex Toy, a weekly comic all about the wonderful world of sex and gender and identity and kink. And we are now going to have Erika on the show every month to recommend a new sex toy for us. So what do you got for us, Erika?
All right, this week or this month, I've got Black Label S Chase, which I'm not actually sure how to say it quite right. I'm not sure if it's S or SA, kind of like a European thing, but it's my husband and I just call it the fuck couch.
So we're going, our first sex toy is sex furniture?
Yeah, well, it's the thing I'm most excited about right now. So I know you guys said to look up a toy, but like this is the thing that I just got and I'm super excited about. And it's like, I was really surprised at how much of a difference it actually does make.
So what is it? Describe it.
Okay, it's sort of like it's this fancy futuristic looking furniture that like kind of like what you might see in the movie 2001. And it's kind of shaped like a jelly bean. And it's got these little, what are these called? D-rings that are along the bottom so you can like tie somebody up to it. And it's got this cushion thing on it. And basically you always hear these people making claims saying, oh, you know, my sex furniture will really make a difference. My sex toy is just going to blow your mind. You're like, yeah, sure. But this one, the way it's curved and the way it supports your body, I was surprised at what an active difference it made in how my husband and I were fucking each other. Like it rotates you and supports you just a little bit differently than when you're just on the bed. And I was really surprised.
Will it fit under the tree if somebody wants to think about it for a holiday gift?
It'll fit next to the tree.
Can you leave it next to the tree in front of company, or is it obviously a giant D-ringed, festooned sex toy?
Okay, so we have it in our living room, and we've had friends come over, and they all immediately want to sit on it, and they're like, okay, I know this is your sex chair, but it kind of looks like just a futuristic furniture thing. It kind of looks like the kind of furniture you might see at one of those startup companies where they employ 20-year-olds, and they all ride around on little scooters.
Until they're tied to the sex furniture, and then the riding around the scooter stops.
The D-rings might be a giveaway, but you can get it without the D-rings as well. Like they've got kind of simpler versions and more fancy versions. So yeah, it kind of looks like just a really fancy, futuristic couch thing to sit on, but you can also fuck on it. And
why do you need this additional thing to fuck on? What's so much better about fucking on this thing than a mattress or bending someone over the couch you already have?
The way it supports you. Like I've fucked on the couch and I've fucked on the bed, and that is a lot of fun. But this actually kind of like props you up in such a way, like so many different positions. And I found that things that my husband and I have done before, and I have a great time, on this thing, I could be supported in such a way that it just rotates my pelvis a tiny bit. And it's like, whoa, this feels like a brand new thing.
This sounds like it could be a really helpful thing for someone with a disability, for people with size issues, for people with,
for sure. Definitely.
with medical issues or chronic medical conditions that can make being in a certain position for sex painful or awkward. It sounds like this is not just a fun sex toy, but perhaps for some people a transformative one.
I absolutely think so. I am able-bodied, but I can very much see how this would be super helpful for somebody who needs that extra support here or there to just kind of help line them up a little bit differently. So it's made by Liberator. And again, it's the Black Label S or SA Shays.
The Black Label Shades. What do these things run?
Let's see here. From about $450 to $630, which I know is a lot, but I don't know. Like, it's a really good product.
All right, Erika Moen with her husband Matthew Nolan, they draw Oh Joy Sex Toy, a weekly comic about all things sex at ohjoysextoy.com. Erika, thank you so much. We look forward to having you back next month, maybe with a cheaper toy.
Oh, yeah. I'll look for something real cheap for you guys.
Okay, for January, when everybody's broke and depressed about, what's happening on January 20th. We'll come in with some low bar recommendations to get you guys getting off again.
There we go.
Thanks so much, Erika.
Hey, Dan. I'm a mid-30s guy living in the Boston area. Just like most of us, I feel like the election was pretty crappy, but at least in Massachusetts, we've got a little bright spot in that we passed legalizing pot. So my history, I've dabbled in it a little bit, primarily back in college, but it's not really a regular part of my life anymore. And here's the thing. My wife has never smoked. She seems to be starting to kind of warm up to the idea of using pot, but she still just kind of hung up on the fact that, quote, I've made it this far. Why break it now? Anyway, she knows that you didn't start till later in life either, and she likes to listen to your advice. Any way you could give her a pep talk? Thanks.
My advice would be not to smoke pot. Lady, if you're listening, do not start smoking pot. Start eating pot. One of the great things about the legal recreational cannabis markets in Oregon, in Washington State, in Colorado, and now coming to California is edibles. Used to be that if you wanted to eat pot, I don't like to smoke pot. I have asthma, I have shitty lungs, I don't want to abuse them with smoke. You would make pot brownies, you would make pot cookies, and it was really hard to predict how strong they would be. You would make a batch of pot brownies, and then you would have to have a little nibble over a couple of days at a time until you gauged what the correct dosage was for that particular pan of brownies. Sometimes a quart of a brownie would fuck you up, and sometimes you need to eat 2 brownies to get a buzz. You just never knew. And the legal edibles market has taken the guesswork out of edibles because you know exactly the dosage you're getting. 5 milligrams of THC, 10 milligrams of THC, or grams, whatever it is. And you can then have the perfect mild buzz. You can have the perfect, I don't have to be anywhere this weekend. I don't have anything to do this weekend. I'm going to slaughter myself. Buzz. So, wife of caller, get some edibles. Get some edibles that have a low THC content and enjoy them. And you can take them and go to a movie and hang out and see how it makes you feel. But you do not have to start smoking pot if you don't want to smoke pot. But you can and you should, and I think you would enjoy eating it.
Hi, Dan. I know this is another phone call in a long litany of phone calls the Lovecast has been getting about Donald Trump and everything that just recently happened. But if you will let me, I would like to hijack your show for a brief moment and talk to other people like me. So I'm a white straight male in the Pacific Northwest. And I would like to talk to the other dudes for a second, and everybody else can listen in. There's been a lot of shouting, and there's been a lot of upset voices, and there's been a lot of anger everywhere. And I know that I'm lucky enough to blend in. I have a specific set of values, but when you look at me, I look like the people who voted for Trump, and that gives me a lot of leeway in this society. With that said, I believe that being an advocate for other people who are not like me is important. And I know as a white guy, I drink beer, I play poker, I do a lot of just stereotypical white dude stuff. And I think in those moments, I have a responsibility to live out my personal values when I'm busting balls with a friend and they say something that's inappropriate. I need to call them on it in the moment. my advocacy in those moments seems small, but it dawned on me that little moments add up to big changes. And I know that there's a lot of people who are scared in this country, but I have an advantage. I'm on the side of tolerance and equality, and I can be a sleeper cell. So when someone thinks it's appropriate to say something to me, just because of what I look like, and it's not appropriate, I can then call them on it and let them know, no, look, you're wrong. It's not appropriate. These are the reasons why. And I also just wanted to talk to the other dudes. Like, if you're in a poker game, if you're doing whatever, drinking a beer with a friend, and they start saying things that are inappropriate, you need to call them on their shit. Also, I know that Dan has told people to donate money, and they should totally do that for causes that are important. But on the other side of the conversation, I think it's important for white, straight males like me to volunteer and put time into those organizations and show up and be seen. We need to show that people who look like us, the predominant whatever of society, are on the side of supporting equality, women's rights, LGBTQ issues, and that when those minorities or people who are in those groups feel threatened, they can look to us and be like, look, I do have support in that community, and that community shows up for me.
Hashtag not all men. Hashtag not all white men. Hashtag not all straight white men. Thank you for calling. Appreciate your imploring other straight, white, privileged, cisgendered guys out there to speak the fuck up not when people say things that are inappropriate. People say inappropriate things all the time. There are times when it is appropriate to say the inappropriate thing because you're being funny. It's not about being inappropriate. It's about being assholes. It's about being wrong. It's about being racist or sexist or homophobic or transphobic or anti-Semitic or xenophobic. Those are the furies the Trump campaign has unleashed. And we have seen the Trump campaign, the Trump election, the election of Donald J. Trump. Those are the furies that have been released. It's not a nation awash in inappropriate remarks. It's a nation awash in hate crimes that have spiked since Trump's election. People being attacked because they're wearing the hijab. People being attacked because they're gay, which has happened. People being attacked because of their race, because of their faith. So it's not about somebody said an inappropriate thing at a poker game. It's about how people allowing others like them to say racist, sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, transphobic, homophobic, anti-Semitic shit and get away with it contributes to that culture of violence and impunity that people now perceive, that they can act out with impunity against people who are different or not white men or white women, straight white men or women like them. So I thank you for the call. I thank you for speaking up. I want to second your encouragement of others to speak up, and not just other straight white guys, but all of us to speak the fuck up when people are saying things that empower bigotry, and that in turn, empowering of bigotry fuels violence. So we all got to speak up. And we got to remember, those of us who are not straight white men or straight white women, that yes, Donald Trump won the election because a majority of straight white men and a majority of straight white women voted for that asshole. But Donald Trump did not win 100% of the straight white male vote or the straight white female vote. He won a majority, but it means that there is a significant minority of hashtag not all men, hashtag not all white guys, hashtag not all straight guys out there who didn't support him and are on our side and are deep behind enemy lines at times and can, at those times, deep behind enemy lines, speak the fuck up and help create and enforce, to what extent that they can, cultural norms around tolerance and respect. So thank you for calling. Thank you for calling out. And thank you for doing, most importantly. Thank you for speaking up.
Hey, Dan. I am calling with advice for the gal in episode 527 who can't orgasm without getting high but doesn't want to get high anymore. I would like to recommend that she checks out a cannabis sex lube. That way her pussy can get high, but her head doesn't have to. Win-win situation. Her boyfriend can also, enjoy a little bit of that cannabis goodness when he goes down on her. Well, one caveat is that most of these lubes are coconut oil based, which degrades latex condoms. So more for fun before actually fucking than for after.
I'm calling for the woman whose boyfriend's beard may be giving her acne. I love my boyfriend's beard, and it's part of what attracts me to him. So if she's like me and wants the beard to stay, one option is to ask him to use conditioner when he showers. My boyfriend had a bristly beard, and it was irritating the skin on my chin. He started using conditioner, and the irritation went away. Also, just like I pee after sex to clean out any bacteria, consider washing your face after making out with an antibacterial soap and see if that helps.
Hi, Dan. This is a response to episode 257 where you said that, made the comment that liberals should move to red states in order to, and diverge from big cities in order to flip the electoral college. I agree with you. However, I'd like to add that you do not necessarily need to move to a small nowhere town in order to do so, especially now, especially with liberals should move to Madison, Wisconsin. They should move to Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, Detroit, Ann Arbor, etc., etc. Move to a blue dot, red state, and eventually push that state into the blue.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you would like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz, 206-302-2064. Read me every week in the Coast in Halifax, my sex advice column, Savage Love. And you can gift the Savage Lovecast this holiday season to your friends and family who need the gift of more of me running my mouth, more guests, more questions, and no ads in the Savage Lovecast Magnum. Go to www.savagelovecast.com to subscribe to the Magnum or gift a subscription to the Magnum. And I just want to add that our thoughts are with everyone in Oakland this weekend and this week who's suffering, who lost a friend, a lover, a collaborator, a roommate. We are just gutted for you, and you are in our thoughts and our hearts again. God to you. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Erika Moen on Twitter at Erika Moen. She spells Erica with a K, and Moen is M-O-E-N. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We will all be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thanks for downloading.